Now, I've never made a vlog before, but I figured today was as good a day as any to try it out. And maybe even a little better than some days. Because I feel like today we're actually on a cusp. We're on this moment where there's a merging of it all ends here and more Potter more. J.K. Rowling's going to be making her announcement today. And it's going to be coming in about 13-ish hours now. And we don't know what it is, and we don't know. It's not the end, but it could be the end. But J.K. Rowling says it's not the end. So I just feel like with all this anticipation, I want to reflect on everything. Everything that's happened in the past 11 plus years for me. I apologize in advance if I get rambly. I don't really know what I'm doing, and I'm sorry if I get boring. Whoops. Now, my love affair with Harry began in the summer of 2000. It was right after Goblet of Fire was released. My grandmother actually pressured us to read the Harry Potter books. She tried with my brother a few months earlier, and he's not much of a reader, so that didn't work out. And then with me, she took a different tactic. Knowing that I'm a huge Anglophile, she told me, hey, people in England read these, and it worked. And I've been hooked on Harry ever since. I remember the first website I ever went to was MuggleNet, the original MuggleNet, I suppose, and I just couldn't get enough. I was on everything. I remember entering the caption contests, and I remember going in the recipes, the Madame Rosmerta's recipes, and making things like butterbeer, and looking at pictures, and just all the information I could absorb. And eventually, I remember my friend Brandon and I went to the movies. We saw Chamber of Secrets, definitely at midnight, and every time Ron came on screen, I was hitting him, and oh, my Ickle Ronnykins is on again, and it was very exciting. And my first book release would have been Order of the Phoenix. Because we were making up for lost time, I guess, though, I went to 2 midnight book releases, not 1. So we started at Barnes & Noble, and then party hopped our way over to the Borders, where we had our books reserved. In fact, the other day, I just found my original Order of the Phoenix book release ticket. It's crazy. Gryffindor 54. That's how high up I guess I was on the book line. But I still have this. And I just remember it was so much fun, and there were people there that were like me. And I hadn't really seen that before. I hadn't really encountered that. And it was just incredible. When Prisoner of Azkaban came out in theaters, I remember I was up in Orlando. We were at Disney World at the time, and I think it was the first time my mom came with us to see a midnight movie. And ever since, she's come to almost every Harry Potter midnight movie release. It's actually going to be sort of sad she's not going to get to come with us this time, because we're going to be at LeakyCon, and she won't. But I remember we went, and they were throwing shirts into the audience and trivia questions, and it was just immense. I don't recall the other movie releases being that way, and it was just a really great way. Me and my brothers and my mom, we all spent Harry Potter together. My mom's never read the books, but she loves coming to the movies with us. My next step into the fandom, I suppose, was through MuggleCast. I listened to that since as long as I can remember, from the very beginning, I guess. And those MuggleCasters became my friends, as sad as it sort of sounds. I remember going to sleep at night and turning on my MuggleCast and falling asleep listening to all of them talk and thinking, there are other people like me. I was in college at the time when MuggleCast was starting, and I had Harry Potter friends, but nobody was sort of to the extent that I was, and it felt like I wasn't alone. It was just a really great way to kind of meet people without meeting anybody, really. I just remember listening to all of them, and the pickle pack, and yeah, and all of that. And in fact, a few months ago on my Tumblr, I wrote an open love letter to MuggleNet and MuggleCast, which I might link at the bottom of this video. But ever since, I still listen to MuggleCast on a regular basis. MuggleNet is still my homepage, and it's just, I'm not breaking that habit. We were up in Maryland at the time when Half-Blood Prince book came out, and we went with our family friends to get the book at midnight. It was so cool. It was the first time I had my entire family come to the book release. We had the bracelets that Barnes & Noble gave out, these like the Livestrong bracelets. I wore mine up until I lost it. I would still be wearing it today if I hadn't lost it. Actually, I lost 2 of them. I had 2. We got sorted, which was awesome. I have a picture still of being sorted at Barnes & Noble, and just, it's one of my favorite pictures of me in my Harry Potter clothing and my Hermione outfit. And we got home that night and we stayed up and we read. And my brother, the one that had returned the books years earlier, he stayed up all night and read the book. I remember I went to sleep because we were driving up to New York the next day, and I can read in the car and he can't. So I got some rest, read in the car. He slept in the car. But we got to the cemetery to visit my grandmother up in New York, and it was just as I was reaching the end of the book. So, let me tell you, do not read Half-Blood Prince and then end up in a cemetery. It's not okay. It was just not okay. Like I mentioned before, I really didn't have a ton of Harry Potter friends up in college. When Goblet of Fire came out, I took my best friend and roommate with me to go see the midnight movie. He obliged, but really didn't want to be there. Really badly didn't want to be there. I made him wear his long trench coat, and he was just grumpy, and we decided he was dressed as Victor Crumb. And I walked into the movie theater at midnight, and there were 2 people up front of the screen having a wizard duel. And one of them cast Avada Kedavra at the other one collapsed onto the floor to thunderous applause, and my roommate just turned to me and he said, "Do you see all of these Harry Potter nerds here for the midnight movie dressed in their robes? This is your dating pool." Now, flash forward to Order of the Phoenix release, and I was in London. This is the first time I ever went to any of the premieres. It actually wound up being the only premiere because the other one I was going to go to wound up moved, but I got to go to the London premiere of Order of the Phoenix. We got there pretty late, actually, around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I stood outside and I was right where the cars were pulling up. We saw everyone. Harry, Ron, Hermione, the twins, Dean Thomas, Bellatrix, and of course J.K. Rowling. I was speechless. I think I was shaking. I don't know what was going on. It was incredibly cool. And I just could not believe my luck that I wound up in London at the time to see this whole premiere happen. It was just magical. And then a few weeks later, Deathly Hallows was released. I was back in Tallahassee and I was kind of by myself. I found a few friends with me to come with me to the midnight book release. I was totally in my Hermione clothes, and it was actually the first time I had my entire Hermione outfit. I unplugged my computer, I turned off my phone at 7 o'clock when the book was released in England, and I did not connect back to the world until I was done. And I did have panic attacks reading it. It felt like the end, but as we all know, isn't the end. And I sobbed. I sobbed the whole last 45 minutes or so of the book. My brothers couldn't believe that I wasn't done yet. They were contacting my roommate to make sure I was still okay because they had finished reading and I wasn't done. But it was just, there were no words. There were no words then, and there's sort of no words now. Now, the Half-Blood Prince movie release was a little bittersweet. It's almost glazed over in my memory because we had really horrible news the next day, I think it was. But it was only me and my brothers that wound up going with some family friends. My mom wasn't there with us. And I liked the movie. I don't care. My brothers complained about how much they didn't like it, but I liked it. But again, we were up in Maryland, and same family friends we saw, we bought the Half-Blood Prince book with, actually, so that's kind of cool that we saw it with them. I never even realized that until just now. In June 2010, I got a phone call. I was just getting ready to go to my friend's baby shower, and my friend Nicole called me and said, Wizarding World is open. Now, I did not know this. I don't know how I missed this. We couldn't go because I had the baby shower, but that next morning, you bet, I jumped in the car with my brother Stuart, and we were up there. We did the park in soft open, and I had goosebumps walking in. The next week, we came back for the grand opening. I was queued up by 5:45. I had gotten to the park. I think about 6:45 was when I finally met the end of the line. Sat there in front of the Jurassic Park restaurant for hours and hours, and I sort of have a soft spot in my heart now for the Jurassic Park section of the park in Universal. But at 10:30, we were already inside the Wizarding World, and I can't explain what grand opening day felt like. It was such a rush. There were people in robes and frog choirs and Hogwarts. There was Hogwarts. And I go back to the park now every month since. Sometimes for the park and sometimes just to run some errands. I'll pick up a pumpkin juice, mail a letter. I run my errands in Hogsmeade. How lucky and neat is that? It's unreal is what it is. We've entered the books. We've literally entered into the books. It's just incredible. My next event was Infinitus 2010. It was the first time I ever went to a con. I had no idea what to expect, but everything far exceeded my expectations. And ever since then, I just feel like I've become more into the fandom as much as possible. I was sort of a Harry Potter fan that was living on the outskirts of the fandom, running around the edges, and after Infinitus, it really got me into it. When Deathly Hallows Part 1 came out, it wasn't the beginning of the end. It was just a beginning. It was probably the best of the Potter films I have ever seen. And I was lucky enough, I got advanced screening tickets. I saw it the Monday before it came out, and I saw it on the midnight release. My brothers were in town. All three of us got to go and see the advanced screening together, which I couldn't have asked for a better situation. And I felt like I had Felix Felicis that night. I've been to Wizard Rock now. I went to Rock Reggie's a few months ago in Chicago, and I listened to Wizard Rock. I was trying to get signatures for the HPA for the Starvation Wages Horcrux. I feel like suddenly now, there's no way this can be the end. Deathly Hallows is on the cusp here, but there's no way. It can't be the end now. It's all about more Potter. Potter more. And we're going to wake up in a few hours and we're going to see that we're nowhere near the end. It wasn't the end when Deathly Hallows book came out. It's not the end now. If you made it this far, I commend you, because I can't imagine this was very interesting. But that's my Potter story, and I just wanted to share. Thank you, J.K. Rowling, for introducing me to some of the greatest, most wonderful friends I've ever known in my entire life, for single-handedly reviving the book and inspiring writers everywhere. and for allowing all of us into your special world. And of course, thank you for Harry.